Turning now back to Mr. McLean, you have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to try and pick on any of the witnesses here. So whoever wants to answer this question, we've talked about this incremental approach we're going to have to take in our infrastructure system, particularly our gas infrastructure system, as we put 5% in, first of all, into hydrogen, into the gas mix, and then move it up from there 3 to 5 years each time, and see what happens from an effects perspective. Was it prudent then for NRCan to move forward with a transformative approach as opposed to an incremental approach in looking at what the outcome would be as far as emissions goes? Anyone?
I think that's probably me. So I would say that, as I mentioned at the outset, the intention of that report was the intention of the strategy was to set out full potential. Since the strategy was released, we've taken a series of measures at NRCan, including through the Clean Fuels Fund, to then look at specific applications of clean fuels, and that includes significantly hydrogen, as an area of focus. And so recent announcements were of $800 million, and there'll be subsequent announcements before too long. Those are specific investments in specific projects, and will then continue to move along the technology and the applications of the technology. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier the tax credit that has been included as a fiscal measure recently. And
well, tax credits don't reduce emissions. Let me read the paragraph we're talking about, 327. I'm sure you know it. The transformative scenario developed by Natural Resources Canada projected that hydrogen could represent up to 15% of the emissions reduction needed to meet the 2030 target. In contrast to this, we found that one of Natural Resources Canada's incremental demand reports projected that in 2030, hydrogen will contribute only 0.5% of the 2030 target and 5.5% of the 2040 target. The department did not find this estimation compelling and chose to use more aspirational numbers in the hydrogen strategy for Canada modeling. This is a choice you made. It isn't something that was based on any reality. We need a result. We need to put some numbers here that actually show we're going to do something that defy reality that actually exists in your department. I'll take comment on that, but it does seem to be a huge stretch where you arrived at these numbers, Mr. Hannaford.
Mr. Chair, as I say, the intention here was to introduce a call to action, and that included then ambitious potential actions that could be taken to advance the use and production of hydrogen. And I would take one step back too. When we talk about the transportation of hydrogen, infrastructure is part of that, but the applications become part of it too. As we think about the use of heavy vehicles as applications of fuel cells, that is a localized use, which obviously is then intended for movement, but that's not then the use of a...
Okay, Mr. Hannaford, thank you. I think we're filling time. How much time do I have, Mr. Chair?
A minute and a half.
Okay, let's, Mr. Hannaford, or one of your officials, are you familiar with Enerdata, international data collecting firm on energy? Okay, Enerdata actually shows that Canada, energy as a percentage of our GDP has gone down over the last 30 years from 26%, as 26% input for each unit of GDP, to 17%. We're still the 5th highest in the world. We know we live in a northern climate, but we've made significant progress as far as the amount of energy we consume. If we produce green hydrogen, that ratio is going to reverse. The number one way we can address global warming is to keep that efficiency ratio going down. Would you agree?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm not familiar with the report. What I would say is that in order for us to achieve our overall climate objectives, we're going to have to think through a number of different technologies, and hydrogen is one of them.
30 seconds, Mr.
Even though at this point in time it is power energy negative.
As I say, Mr. Chair,
So what I'm saying is you're saying, okay, it doesn't matter what happens, how much greenhouse gas we produce between now and 2030. It matters what might happen in 2060. So short-term pain environmentally for potential gain way down the road.
Well, I'm not saying that we would be increasing our carbon footprint as a result.
Well, I am.
And
The
I'm afraid that
production
is
of
the
all this
time.
equipment.
That is the time. Ms. Yip, you have